Now, I would like to get back a little bit to, like, I like that we're drifting away and then coming back. I think it's beautiful. I love it. But I
Same
would like
here.
to come back a little bit to yourself. And you said earlier already that it took about 4 years from starting working on the song until now when it got published. Can you tell us a little bit about the whole process that it went through, and if that is the normal process how you write songs, or how you come up with your music in general, a little bit to dive
Hmm.
a little bit into the process.
Hmm. So usually for the punchiest songs and for the songs that that um that I hold closest to my heart, there's just a trigger. The trigger is usually the emotion, an emotion that I feel, then I
Mhm.
let simmer for some time, and then the sound comes, and it gets stuck in a loop in my head until I finally tell myself, okay, I have to sit myself down and drown this out. Otherwise, it's gonna stay stuck in here forever. And that's what happened with Only Miss You When I'm High. I had a series of very intense emotions, um, and I just didn't know how to deal with them. But somehow, yeah, my mind knew how to deal with them and decided to
Mhm.
process them into a song. And I slowly started to come up with the the tension that I wanted to bring out. So I worked very much on the way the chord progression was brought to light through different
Mhm.
instruments, and I actually worked on it with my band at the time, so we got to experiment a lot with the song, and it went in a direction that I that I really I didn't expect for half of the song, which was really nice. Um, and then I forgot about it for some time, and over the years, I got to develop new sounds and experiment different tools, different instruments that I got along the way, and decided for some reason I decided that it was time to bring Only Miss You When I'm High back to the surface. I think it was that I finally found a way to really give justice to how heavy I wanted this to sound to the listener
Uh-huh.
in terms of vocals, in terms of harmonies, and really um, make the person feel almost uncomfortable but thrilled at the same time by the amount of voices that are present in the second half of the song. So that's pretty much the journey that it took until now. And yeah, and then 1 month ago, 2 months ago, I told myself, okay, it's finally time to stop working on this and just drop it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go mad.
Yeah. What is this process there was for you? Like, okay, when do you know something is as finished as it's gonna get?
And that's
Because that's something that's always interesting for me as well. Like, I could work for years and for years on the same thing and never finish it. And it's always like, how long do you need? How many days extra do you need? 3 more days. And you ask me in 3 days, how many more days do you need? 3 more days. And it will always be the same answer. But
that's me.
how do you say stop and let go?
You could write a whole thesis on this. Um, my manager decides when it's time. I
Okay. So you outsource
I
that decision essentially.
yeah, actually okay. I attribute the decision to her. So it's like
Uh-huh.
I let myself delve in it for some time, until I feel like I'm getting to the end, but I don't want to let go. It's kind of like those 3 days, like you say. It's kind of like, just I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. And when I find myself in that loop, I'm like, "Mara, set me a deadline." And I'm like, "Okay, like this Saturday it is done and
Yeah.
it's mastered. It's out of my hands." And she's like, "Okay." And every time we talk on the phone, it's like I always get this buzz of like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna." It's so easy to set deadlines with this woman. I love her so much. So that's how I do it. But there is always a struggle of like, when do you know that a painting is done? Well, a painting is never done. It's only when you decide to drop the brush
Yes.
and hang it that you can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about the songs. It's like, okay, this is one version of the song, and all the other versions I get to enjoy live. I get to
Hmm.
experiment with it. There's so many alternatives. And that's what I tell to my musician friends as well when they struggle with their songs. And they're like, "Oh, but I like this ending and this ending." Well, perform it and see how that goes. Because maybe, or before, or if you have so many struggles while you're recording it, then the song is not done in your mind. It's not done in your heart. You need to play around with it, play it live so many times, try out all the endings that you want, and then see what works, what doesn't, how the crowd responds, how you respond to it. It's so important. Don't spend time in the studio, like, exploring all these things.
Mm.
Try it live, try it with people, you know? Hard thing to say now, granted, but,
No, but it's a beautiful approach. Like, uh, just go for it and try things out. It's yes,
I that's
I
the
can very much
yeah,
feel with that.
that's the whole journey of music, right? That's how
Mm,
songs are written. That's how I wrote my songs. I didn't the very first song that I wrote with the band, it was like I was I was at a kitchen table, we were together at a kitchen table with my friend Andrea, and he started playing a song, and I just started, um, bebopping over it, scatting over it, and, um and I started writing the lyrics on a napkin, and that was the
mm,
beginning to our song, and that was the beginning to, the start of our band journey.
nice.
It just takes a little bit of just
Mm.
a little bit of a Go,
Yeah,
do it.
good. On the one hand side, do it as you say, but on the other hand, sometimes as well, like you said, okay, now back then with this song, it was not the time. You needed to take some distance, but it's not gone. You don't say I don't do it. It's just okay. I started something. I put it on the shelf, and I will come back to it.
Absolutely.
Um, and to give yourself the freedom to do that as well, to not finish something, and maybe you will pick it up in the future, maybe not, but who cares?
That is the wow, that was such a so beautifully said. That's that's even harder than finishing the song.
Yeah.
Not finishing it and leaving it aside, dare to let it simmer for
Mm,
months or years if it may be, you know? The important part is actually just to let that thought process and let the creative sounds trickle out, do voice memos. Put 50,000 voice memos on if you want and see which ones you want to pick up later. Don't rush to
yeah.
just grab anything that comes out of your head without thinking about how it makes you feel.
Mm,
Yeah, totally.
nice. And I think that is something that is inherent not just to music but to all the art forms. I feel like it's the same struggles that I have with my work as well, and also a lot of other friends I have are struggling with and constantly getting confronted with again from all kinds of different media and art spectrum. There's so
Mm,
much, um, and it's everybody has the same struggles somehow, and but it's still all the time the same difficulty. But it's something as well that I find inherently beautiful about art because it's really something personal as well then that comes through to that. Something that is not always visible to an audience, but that is there
mhm.
and connects you to your artwork as well, the path that you yourself took with the creation of that song. There is a lot carried through with that as well, which I believe as well. Now, I haven't seen you perform live, but I very much believe that that is something that carries through as well into your performances and how you relate to the song when you play it in front of a crowd.
Mm. Well, I certainly hope so. And
Mm.
I'm my mind just went off in a tangent. Sorry, I was just thinking
No
because I'm part
problem.
of a music academy this year, and
Uh-huh.
they're organizing concerts to the original plan was to perform in festivals in Switzerland this summer, but yeah. Now we will be performing on a weekly base, well, hopefully on a weekly basis around Switzerland in the summer, according
Mhm.
with respect to the regulations. And I just wonder, will I be able after like a whole year, almost a year and a half of rest, um,
Mm.
almost no performance whatsoever? How am I going to will it be difficult? Will the process be difficult for me to get back on stage and, drive this energy out of me and into the audience again? And it makes me wonder for all the other people, like everybody else who has to go back from 0 to
Yeah.
100%, when the regulations will be more lax. How? how are the vibes going to be? It's just something I wonder.
It's a good question. I have no fucking clue. Like I did
That's also a
perform.
good answer.
Yes. I'm thinking right now, when was the last time that I performed? Because I did perform, well, it was October 2020 when I premiered that show I talked about earlier. But after that, I believe I still had a few shows in France with a different show.
Wow.
And there it was strange because it's a show for children and usually the audience is very close, which is what I love about this show. And a mix of painting and acrobatics and using acrobatics to paint. Very much inspired by Jackson Pollock, and you come out of the show and you as an audience are painting as well as the rest of the space, essentially. And it was very weird and strange to perform that with more distance and not being able to see the faces of the audience as well because masks. And it was a strange feeling, but it took me 2 or 3 shows. Like we performed there a couple of, like, for 3 days, I think. And it took a bit of time, but then okay, you start to find your way. You discover other ways of communicating, be it not through your face, but then be it more in your body, and you still see it in the body language of the audience as well. And that was a quite interesting experience actually for me there.
Tell me, before your shows, before you're about to head on stage, is there a thought that you have in your mind right before you go? What do you think about before you go?
I can't pinpoint a particular thought actually, no.
Or what do you hope for? Is there something that you think about your audience? Like
The thing is
what you want to what you want to convey to them?
like, there is one main goal that I have in all my performances, no matter what show it is. And that is, I want to be out there not playing any sort of weird character, but I want to be able to stand out there the same way that I'm sitting here talking to you right now. And to not be in a certain zone and be like this. And no, I want to just be there and fully experience that moment and be able to feel, okay, how does the floor feel today? How is my body today? And be able to react onto that as well, and just be there as a human in front of them, and be as honest as I can possibly be. And whatever that might mean for that day. And of course, I do have my script, let's say, that I have to follow. Okay, I need to do this action now and this action now, and I need to say this and this text. But it's still every time a thing of, okay, I cannot be there in my head of, okay, now I have to say that. No, I need to take the decision to say the same thing over and over again. And I need to get myself to the space of taking the same decision always. And so that the result will always be the same, but I don't decide on the result. I decide on the decision, essentially, that leads to the result. And that is always what I try to do. And like this, each time I say something or each time I do something, it creates a new experience, because I'm not trying to copy an experience, but create a new one based on the same starting points. But, well, I am always different. The audience is different every day. And through that, I allow it to affect the things that I do. And I believe that allows me to be present for an audience as well.
That's beautiful. Especially, I mean, the part that really hits me, it's the fact that you acknowledge the fact that you're not in control of the results.
Yeah.
And that speaks for itself in a way. The ability to let go, wow, that's really something. Because like
And
I
I
said
don't always manage, but that is always the kind of goal that I have. And then afterwards, I'm like, in those moments I managed and there I didn't. But okay, tomorrow I go again.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's it's a general guideline, but if you can't do it
Yeah.
every time, then, I mean, that's the point of wanting to continue developing, right? Sometimes you win,
Yeah.
sometimes you work, sometimes it doesn't, but the point is that you keep trying.
Exactly.
Mm.
How is it for you? Is there a thought in your mind before going onto stage?
Well, for the concerts that are really where I really get a sense of intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that I start with a song that will captivate them. I try to think of what kind of song or what kind of sound they would be keen to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in my head, if I'm really at the right place and the right at the right venue, then I guess that the thought that really comes to me is, "This is for you."
Mm. Nice. This was the third part of my conversation with Natyva. In the fourth and final part, we will be talking about her music video, as well as about her upcoming EP, Restless. Next to that, we have some interesting conversation about when things go wrong. If you like this video, then please click like and subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. A big thank you goes out to all of our supporters on Patreon. If you also want to support the work that we do here at Capta laVie and secure yourself some extra benefits, then head over to patreon.com/captalavie. See you in the next part with Natyva.